Claflin is an amazing institution. Claflin has a rich history. As you know, they're celebrating 151 years of existence, and to only be the ninth president in 150 years speaks volumes. You can't do that sort of comparative analysis to any type of institution in the state or probably in the country, right? So they've had sustainable leadership. They've been successful. They're only ranked at number 9 ranked HBCU in the country. So I think when you think about the outstanding academic enterprise, their quality instruction, their graduation rates, retention rates, and what they've been able to do to produce global leaders, it was a perfect fit for my background and what Claflin had to offer me as well. Well, I think, fortunately or unfortunately, I've been engaged in crisis management my entire career, and so this coronavirus has just, tied to my background and experience, and so I'm a man of faith, and so I understand that, the Bible tells us such a time as this, and so during this time, God doesn't put us in situations we're not prepared for. So with that, putting that in context, I was in Daytona Beach when the Trayvon Martin tragedy happened. And the march from Daytona Beach all the way to Tallahassee was led by my campus and led by me. So from Reverend L. Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, all of those folks, was on our campus. Well, after that, I took the presidency in St. Louis, and 3 weeks later, after I was the president, only 3 weeks later, August 9th happened, which was the Mike Brown tragedy, one of the largest, tragedies that shut down a city, went global as well, and that was 12 miles from our campus. 47% of our students were from there. So I was asked by the governor to lead a lot of the work around that piece of it. And so coming to South Carolina, I thought that season of my life was over dealing with crisis, right? And not to mention my first semester here, I think within 2 months we had a major hurricane. And we had to close campus for a few days. And so we had to relocate students over to the gym, and we placed students in the gym, and my family and I stayed in the gym with the students because we thought it was important to be able to show that we stand in solidarity with the students that are here that couldn't go home. And so I said, okay, God, that season is over, and here comes the largest global pandemic to ever hit the United States during my era, which is COVID-19. And so fortunately, I've had some crisis management experience, and so we rallied the team to really think about our first priority was the safety and well-being of everyone that we serve here at this institution. And so all of our strategies that we outlined defined those areas. And so we talked about, as a private institution, we wasn't held to the same mandate as public, but more importantly for us was to ensuring that we're operating in the capacity that, that Claflin doesn't just survive this, but we thrive through it as well. And so we had a 6-pronged approach of a crisis management response, and it would trigger, if it's orange, purple, red, green, those colors would determine, based on that matrix, strategic matrix, of what we would do. And we followed that matrix to the T, and so it allowed us to be very operational and strategic and be able to measure our work that we were doing within that context. So we did that, and we followed that. So we, during spring break, we extended spring break to really allow us time to really think through the strategy. We brought faculty back the week after spring break, where we extended for students, and had a very intensified faculty training that allowed faculty to convert all of their courses online. And faculty converted the courses online, and after that, we've been offering quality instruction. Well, it didn't go without challenges, I think, but the blessing is probably about 6 years ago, Claflin converted, we began to offer a variety of our courses online. And so we wasn't behind the 8 ball like other institutions where we had probably about 1/4 of our courses that fall were already online. So just the conversion of the 3/4 of your courses was the challenge. And converting the classes was one thing, but most of our platform that we operate, a Moodle platform, all of our classes are already in an online platform, but just teaching instruction was the challenging part. And so our faculty were very dedicated and committed. We have over 87% of our faculty that participated in the training to go through to be able to get ready to do it. But the most important piece was the students, because we opened it up for training for students as well. And the amount of students that participated that week before we converted fully online was amazing, and so we were excited about that. Even our freshman population who hadn't engaged in any online courses at our institution may have in high school, but they were able to convert there. And so it had its, we had some challenges, as you think about technology infrastructure, bandwidth, and a lot of it was, our internal piece, and we were able to work that out, but it was external as well. We're in rural South Carolina. And so when you think about the limited bandwidth and some of the stories we heard from some of our students that they live in these rural communities and there's no internet there's no bandwidth. Some students were having to go to McDonald's, like drive 7 miles to McDonald's to sit in there for 3 hours to use their Wi-Fi to do their work. And so we worked through all those logistics, and our faculty was very understanding. We said our passion for education had to align with our compassion for people, and that's what we were able to do as an institution. Well, we tried our best as an institution to have continual, constant communication. And so every week I try to have some sort of correspondence out to the students, updating them about what we were doing as an institution, what we were doing, trying to ensure that their quality instruction wasn't impacted. But I think the challenge is, when you ask students who this is their home, right? So what makes Claflin special is we don't just educate a student academically. We educate you personally, socially, and spiritually as well. So they get that holistic education experience. And when you remove all three of those other components, the social, personal, and spiritual component, it can be devastating. So what folks are not talking about on a global scale is the mental health piece that comes behind this as well. So the folks that have been impacted mentally at our institutions across the nation based on this pandemic. And so we have been very strategic about ensuring we're still providing those type of services for students. But the other piece behind it is ensuring that our students, when you say that experience, our faculty have been so not just putting a online curriculum up, but how do you engage students online, right? We wanted to ensure that we had interactive videos. We wanted to ensure that students were logging into a certain time and have direct communication with their faculty. And they've done a great job. The biggest challenge, I would say, is for students who didn't have the capacity or the resources. So our alumni jumped in very aggressively. We launched I thought it was very important to launch an emergency student support fund, right? Because I'm clear a large percentage of our students are still first in their family to go to college. So we say, hey, you're on spring break, but you're not coming back, and you don't have laptops, you don't have tablets. And so we were able to invest and purchase a variety of different tablets for students. We were able to purchase hotspots for a variety of different students to ensure that we tried our best to limit the interruption of the education experience. We launched a emergency fund, and anyone can give to that fund. And so it's still not too late. The fund is open. If you'd like to contribute to the fund, we take all contributors, that everyone who's interested in contributing to that fund. It's on our link. It's Claflin Student Emergency Relief Fund. And it's, we ask all of our friends or supporters, and no amount is too little, and so we have folks that contribute anywhere from $10, and we had some students to do that. And we had folks that contribute anywhere from $5,000 or $15,000. Right, so it ran the gamut, which allowed us the opportunity to provide our students with the experiences that they needed to be successful. Well, we've continued. We have an outstanding emergency management team that meets on a regular basis that allows us to continue to look at, a proper forecasting and what are the financial implications. So even with the semester ending, it still allowed us to think about not just summer. We've been having this conversation since February. We're not just, once again, thinking about what happens tomorrow. We're thinking about what happens for the next 5 years. Poor planning equals poor performance. And so strategically, we're thinking as an institution of how do we get through this crisis and thrive through it. And so summer piece, we're thinking about commencement because of the social distancing. We made a decision early that we had to postpone commencement. We do a December commencement already, and so we will celebrate all of our all of our May graduates in December. They will be able to participate in the full commencement ceremony and have all of the rights, responsibilities appertaining to, and have that experience. But within that, we thought in May, it was their time. Right? They've been through a lot. This 2020 class has suffered, not having their senior year experience. This high school and college, right? Not being able to. The spring semester on the college campus is the most vibrant space, especially in HBCU. There's no anywhere in the country. I've worked 11 years at non-HBCUs and 12 years at HBCUs. There's no comparison of that spring semester. You have all your fraternities and sororities have their intake. You have, all of your spring activities. It's just amazing experience. Well, those students lost that, so we thought it was important and imperative to provide them with something to still celebrate them. So we created a virtual commencement celebration, and so we'll celebrate all of our graduates on, I think it's May the 15th, and that Friday, and allow them to be celebrated during the time of sort of like a kickoff of commencement, and we'll have them, their picture shown, a little bit about them, and we'll go through all of our ceremonial pieces that we would have had if we were having a regular commencement, because it was important that they're celebrated during their time. Right. So I mean, as you've you're in this media business a long time, you can see this thing has impacted every institution in the country. There's financial implications that come behind some of the largest institutions. If you look at what happened at Arizona State, look at what happened at University of Arizona, University of Wisconsin system. They furloughed half of their workforce. Fortunately for Claflin, we're not there yet. We've been very fiscally sound and responsible in some of our decision making, and so we've been very blessed throughout this time. But the other piece behind that is, our impact to our budget is a large percentage of what happens for us in the summertime is our camps and conferences, right? And because of the social distancing, we won't be able to have those camps and conferences on our campus. So we'll lose revenue, significant revenue there. And not just the revenue component for me, it's the human element. Because we serve first generation college students, we have Upward Bound program that provides high school kids the opportunity to see and experience college. We won't have that experience, so we lose that element of providing these kids who need it the most vulnerable kids, the opportunity to experience a college campus. As a first generation college student myself, who went through Upward Bound program, that was the turning point for me when I went through Upward Bound to go on a college campus, to stand in the residence hall. I said, I can do this. This is something to be taught by college professors. So we lose that element, and so that bothers me both on a personal level. And but fortunately, we've already, for the past 3 years, all of our summer courses have been online. So that doesn't change anything for us from an academic delivery perspective. All of our classes have already been online, so we'll still have our full instruction that's happening, but it's just the residential component that we will lose. Within that context, there has not been a cure to COVID-19. There has not been a vaccine that's been discovered for COVID-19, and so we are still uncertain about what the fall looks like. And so we have I've deployed a strategic task force that are looking at 3 important elements that has KPIs measured to each one of those. We have 3 different plans for the fall.
Okay.
So we can pull any one of those plans out that's needed based on, it would be unrealistic to say, yes, I'm making a decision for the fall, and I don't know what's going to happen with this COVID, right? Some places and some institutions have that, but as an HBCU, we have a civic and a moral responsibility to the people we serve. We have a founding mission. My people, African Americans, are being impacted significantly higher than any other population in this United States of America by COVID, right? So I have, not just from an educational perspective, but I have a responsibility as a health and wellness perspective to protect the ones that I serve at this institution as well. So there's a variety of factors that come in to make sure. So if there's no vaccine, if there's no cure, there's no, we will figure out the way to still provide excellent service, but without putting people in harm's way. I think for us, the more important thing is, how do we keep our student population engaged, right? How do we ensure that our faculty and staff are up to date and well versed what is happening? And thirdly, I think if we get away from the safety and well-being of the people we serve, we find ourselves in trouble. So I think it's we're exploring, we're following national trends, we're listening to the health experts. We're following what's the best practices within the state, within and outside the state, and we're just continuing to monitor it. I just don't think we're going to rush to a judgment. Too many people's lives are impacted by this, and we will be strategic and guided by local and national health officials that helps us make those wise decisions. From this point last year, our accepts are up from this point last year. And hats off to our admissions team and our student engagement team for engaging our students at a very high level and very intimate level. We're utilizing social media to engage them. Every Tuesday you have a chance to meet the admissions counselor. On Wednesday you can meet financial aid. And so I'm doing something next week about Meet the President, so with all new students we get a chance to do that. We've been working very hard, right? But once again, you don't know, right? You don't know until this is the first time, and I'm an enrollment guide, so I've been known to give outstanding projections, but here's this uncertainty, right? So if you have whatever they're defining as the second wave, second wave has a systemic impact on what that enrollment would look like. And if I'm a parent, I'm concerned about my baby coming from Atlanta, Georgia, and going to wherever as an institution, and so we are planning for all of those scenarios. But currently, right now, Claflin, all of our metrics are looking very positive. Even our deposits are up from this time last year. So I mean, we're excited about what can be, but we are just continue to be optimistic, but also to mindful and be able to be mobile as we need to as an institution to make the adjustments that's needed. But right now, today, as I stated, we're looking good. Things are looking really good for us in the fall. We still have a significant amount of our international students here who didn't go home, right? So those students are still here, and that we were able to get them housed and get them placed, and so they're still here and will be able to come back. But it's the new students that will be trying to come in, and our Office of International Affairs is continuing to work through all of those situations and ensuring that not just if they're able to come, but their safety and well-being and the health for them coming from whatever country they're coming from. So we're exploring that as well. But what makes Claflin special, being one of the top HBCU in the state of South Carolina, and like I said, number 9 in the nation, we pride ourselves on recruiting South Carolina. So 68% of our students are from the state of South Carolina. We are South Carolina's, the state of South Carolina University. We're clear about that. We don't go and get a lot of kids from other places. We believe in the quality that comes from this great state, and we educate them here, however they come in, and provide them to go out to be, global leaders within this country. So, so we continue to work the South Carolina market, which is something that has been very successful for us and giving those students opportunity to come to this great institution. I think the coronavirus has a chance to have a significant financial impact on all institutions, not just HBCUs, right? I think I think the other piece behind that is the very fortunate piece for our HBCUs is this. Historically, when other institutions catch a cold, and a metaphor around coronavirus, HBCUs catch the flu, right? But in the same vein, we have, since our founding days, have had to be nimble, had to do more with less. And so historically we understand that context, right? So we've been in that space for a long time and being able to adjust to crisis and be able to do more with less. So a lot of our institutions are used to this, right? We're used to limited budgets. We're used to not having a lot of funds. And so I think a lot of our HBCUs will survive and thrive through this, right? Yes, is there financial implications that come behind it? Yes, sir. It's different from public, different from private. Public institutions get state appropriations and depend on what comes behind that. Private institutions, a large percentage of our budget comes from the students that enroll. So that's why I was sort of saying to you, it's too early to give a determination and a dictation of what's going to happen, where the critical mass of your operating expenses come from the personnel you serve, and that's the students. And if I'm a parent, and there's uncertainty, if I'm, those pieces. So we're that's why our contingency plans have operational and financial implications to each one of them. So if we don't 20% less than our enrollment class, this is the financial impact. If it's 30% less than our enrollment class, here's our financial impact. If we have a significant increase in enrollment, this is the financial impact. So we're looking at all of those strategies that I outlined to you before, the 3 strategic areas that will talk about the financial implications, and we're just trying to prepare for those, best case scenario and worst case scenario. About workforce, when you think about limited amount of folks that are able to come, so to practice social distancing, we have to change our complete operations, right? And changing our complete operations means that we may have to limit some residence halls to 1 to a room. Well, you lose significant revenue from that, right? You may have to stretch classrooms at Monday, Wednesday, and Friday course that has 25 people in a class, you may have to do Mondays half of the class, Wednesdays half of the class, and fully online on Friday, right? To ensure you're practicing social distancing. Well, that means you may have to pay for another instructor to be able to have that. So there's a lot of financial implications that we're looking at. And so I will say this, every institution will be impacted by this financially, for sure. And so we're thankful for the CARES funds that has come in and has been able to help us through this time. We were able to maximize that and provide resources to our students with phase 1. Phase 2 allow us to use that for some of our expenses related to COVID. And the triple P loan for payroll has been very beneficial for us as well. So we're excited. We'll get through this time, but we want to think about not just getting through what happens fall and spring, Well, I think our alumni has been very, very active and engaged. Like I said, they came in and showed out in droves with the emergency student refund piece. Our alumni has always been. We have the highest alumni given amongst HBCUs in the country, and consecutively have continued to do that. So they love this institution. They're loyal sons and daughters of this great institution. But I think, right now, continue to lift us in prayer, first off, lift this great institution in prayer. And, we are, and continue to give, in all of the areas that you've given in, and continue to support. I think this is the time now that the institutions that, thrive throughout this time is the folks that come together. And that's faculty, staff, students, community, and alumni. And so everyone has to band together to ensure that we continue to wrap our arms around the population that comes to this institution, and that we continue to serve them in the best way we can serve them. So I just want to personally thank all of our administration here, the faculty, staff, students, and alumni we wouldn't have been able to get through this without their support, and so oftentimes as a leader, said, oh, Dr. Warmack, you made this great decision, oh, you've been able to get through this, but it wouldn't have happened without the support that I've had here as an institution. And so I thank them publicly for their outstanding commitment to this institution and supporting me throughout this crisis. Claflin University is still a premier institution. We're still taking applications for the fall. You can go to www.claflin.edu, click on our admissions page, and fill out your applications right there online. We're making decisions pretty fast. I'll be honest, but our applications, I said earlier, we're up to close to 10,000 applications for this fall. For the accepted students, we're at a 3.65 GPA. So when you think about our mean GPA is a 3.65 at our sense, we have an outstanding caliber of incoming students that are here that we're looking for. And our goal is to welcome you back in August. Our plan is to do everything in our power to ensure that we open in August with the safety and well-being for everyone that's here. So looking forward to having you on this outstanding campus. Faculty, staff, students, thank you for your ongoing commitment to Claflin, and alumni. We love you. We thank you for continuing to be loyal sons and daughters of this outstanding institution. And thank you.